Kimberly, and this is my premiere YouTube video. It's going to be kind of a mishmash at the end of each month as to what I find interesting or what's caught my attention. A lot of this stuff has been talked about throughout the month. It's been in news, headlines, sometimes entertainment news. But the reason that I'm focusing on it at the end of the month is that it kind of gives me a chance to reflect on all the different points of views that I've heard throughout the month. And so this is going to kind of be my take on the things that have stuck out most in my mind. So the first thing, it isn't actually so much that it's something that's been in the foreground of news or headlines or anything like that, but it is something that, as I was searching through YouTube, looking at different channels and such, I found a few really interesting clips from rap battles, and some of the, especially in like high schools or inner cities. And mostly what I keep seeing is this concern, like kids looking over their shoulder, oh, the cops are coming, the cops are coming. And so I started wondering, why are the police breaking up rap battles? I mean, fights, I understand, beefs or whatever, but rap battles, it just seems like I'd rather have kids and adults, for that matter, doing dance contests or rap battles than doing drive-bys and gangbangs. But I guess the police, the quote that's been coming from a lot of the police departments is basically that the volatile nature of the insults and the language in rap battles can incite violence, get people's blood pressure up, and then they want to fight. But, I mean, arguments do that too. People have disagreements, debates, actually go to any sporting event, and you can see the differing opinions, and some of those get pretty heated, and people calling people out for rooting for other teams or other political views or what have you, and they don't break those up, and those can lead to confrontations. And if someone is crazy or unstable, they're going to throw a punch, or they're going to get into a fight regardless. They don't need a sporting event to do it, or a rap battle or a dance battle. So I don't know, it seemed kind of silly to me. We should be encouraging kids especially to express themselves in a creative way, as opposed to in a violent or destructive way. This, of course, led me immediately to the topic of police brutality, which has been coming up a lot lately, and the public perception of police, and what's been going on with the shootings and the abuses by law enforcement. There's a couple things that I want to say about this. First and foremost, yes, I think it's a horrible thing that's been happening, and that it's something that law enforcement needs some definite reformation as to how they deal with things, how they try to de-escalate volatile situations and learn to interact with the public in a less confrontational manner. I mean, if their lives are in danger, or you have a hardcore criminal, it makes sense that sometimes they're going to have to use deadly force. But the level of interpretation that some of these police officers have been using is over the top, and definitely based in race and racial tensions. However, I have to say that I don't think it's exclusively race oriented. Certainly there's a disproportionate amount of victims of police brutality that are African American or of African American descent, but we're not the only minority that's being brutalized. Latinos are also disproportionately the victims of police violence and police brutality, and it doesn't get talked about for some reason. And I think it's not quite as sexy as far as the media is concerned in regards to, you know, race wars or you know, feeding that machine of black on white tension that is layered throughout American history. But it's also there for Latinos as well. It's been crazy in the last year. You know, there've been a number of Latinos who have been brutalized or, you know, unfairly accused or attacked or what have you. During the whole Michael Brown, Eric Garner thing, there was another man who was shot and killed, Antonio Zambrano Montes, in the state of Washington, and that garnered none of the attention that Michael Brown and Eric Garner did. And the only distinction that I can find between those three cases is that Antonio Zambrano Montes was Hispanic as opposed to African American. Some other ones of note: there was a 17-year-old woman in Denver, Jennifer Hernandez, who was shot and killed. A 13-year-old, Andy Lopez, killed in Sonoma, California, for carrying a toy gun. Police shot and killed him. But we don't hear about these things, and so I think that when we don't hear about something, we assume that it's only happening to African Americans, and I think that's unfair. Having said that, I've also noticed that it's not only minorities that are fearful of the police and who are not trusting the police. There is a culture of distrust for the police in general. This notion of an abuse of power and authority wanting to keep people under their thumb or to control them or to infringe on their rights is prevalent, it seems, because me myself, I know several Caucasians who also do not feel a sense of security. Like it used to be, or I've heard them say that it used to be that when they saw a police officer, you know, if a situation was getting tense, they would feel relieved, or you know, if they were walking alone at night and they saw a police officer, they would feel more secure. Whereas now, even Caucasians are saying, when I see a police officer, I actually get more nervous, whether I've done something or not. You know, a lot of people say, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, you shouldn't be nervous when you see a cop. But that's just not true. Unfortunately, more and more often, we get more nervous when we see a cop, thinking, you know, that he or she might make an example out of us, or might have a grudge against our particular, whatever demographic we belong to. So it's a little crazy to me that's the tone that we have in a conversation about law enforcement. Last but not least on that topic, I just want to say that this is a percentage of law enforcement. This is not all law enforcement any more than a prejudiced view of all blacks or all whites or all Hispanics or all Asians. Those kinds of generalizations are very dangerous, and while I can certainly empathize with why people would feel that way, we have to keep in mind that more often than not, the people who got into law enforcement did so because of from a genuine desire to help people and to take the oath of protect and serve very seriously. These are good men and women who are trying to do a job that none of us would really want to do, especially in areas that are inherently high crime, where it's dangerous, where they're taking their life in their hands every day. So, you know, try to keep that in mind, and that police officers while certainly there is a systematic view that lends itself to an abuse of authority, the individuals are not the enemy. They are not out to get you. And just because there are some who are horrible, and I'm not saying don't be cautious with the police, I'm just saying try to keep that in mind and not jump to conclusions the minute that you see someone in a police uniform that they're the enemy, because that presumption can set off a chain of events that can lead to another tragedy. So there's that. This Donald Trump thing is driving me crazy. Donald Trump in general is driving me crazy. When he first entered the political arena as, I'm officially running for the Republican candidacy, everybody kind of laughed and went, well, it's the Trump, whatever. But now he's actually, or he was, rising in the Republican ranks, which kind of scared me. And I've already decided, and anyone who agrees with me, by all means, leave a comment. If by some fluke Donald Trump becomes president of the United States, I'm leaving the country. But the most recent crazy Trump news is Ivana Trump, his ex-wife, is now accusing him, well, actually not now, she accused him before during their divorce of rape, of making her feel pressured during sexual relations during their marriage and toward the end of their marriage. Since then, apparently, she's withdrawn this and says, now they're the best of friends. But there's also evidence that came after, she released her books making these statements. There was a deposition. He made nice, maybe a fatter alimony settlement was arranged, whatever, and so she's kind of squashed that allegation. So now he can, him and Cosby can go golf together or something. Anyways, my biggest issue is that certain news services like Fox News, ABC News, the Daily Beast, and some online independent freelance writers keep putting the word rape in his alleged, being accusations of rape, put in quotes. And I'm wondering why that is. At no point did I see rape in quotes for any of the articles or headlines about Cosby. And I'm wondering if it's more because of the fact that he was married to his alleged victim at the time. I thought the courts already ruled on this. Marital rape is something that can occur. You don't have, no one has a right or an expectation of sex, or the right to expect sex from your spouse. If your spouse says no and you force the issue or make someone feel pressured or manipulated, so that they are not able to freely and without duress consent to sexual intercourse, it is by definition rape. So I don't understand what the air quotes are. That's just a personal pet peeve. Lastly, there's the issue of the Confederate flag, which has been all over the place. A lot of people are saying it's a symbol of hate. It needs to come down. There was a whole issue with the woman climbing up the flagpole and pulling it down because it was chained in place. And this was all on the heels of the horrible, tragic shooting in the predominantly black Southern church. it fueled a lot of emotion, because it harkened to the time of church bombings back during the civil rights movement, and in the 60s and such. But the counter argument is that people who live in the South, who have a lot of Southern pride in their heritage and their history, feel like anyone who is opposed to the Confederate flag is opposed to their right to take pride in where they come from and their history, and they're saying that it's not about hate, it's about Southern hospitality and heritage and their way of life, the subculture that is that Southern perspective. A couple of things. Whether it was intended or not intended to be a symbol of racism and hatred, in my opinion, is irrelevant. I'm not going to get into trying to argue that that's what it was meant to do, that it was meant to incite fear and hatred and really push the envelope to cause more problems between blacks and whites. I'm also not going to say that it wasn't, that it was only meant as a political view in regards to secession and the South breaking off from the government at the time. I don't know. I don't know what their reasons were, and I'm not going to say that I do. What I do know is that whether you like it or not, whether you want to accept it or not, it has more often than not been associated with white supremacy, slavery, the Ku Klux Klan, and you can't erase that any more than the Germans. I mean, originally, the swastika was not a symbol of hate. It was, I know for a fact that was originally an Eastern Indian symbol. I think it was peace or enlightenment or life or eternal life, something like that. It was a positive spiritual symbol, although it was the direction that the bars at the top of the swastika pointed were slightly different. But in any case, regardless of its origins, Hitler made that synonymous with the Nazi Party and all the atrocities that they committed. And because of that, Germany had to acknowledge that. They cannot, wave the swastika above their house and say that they're having pride in their German heritage. It's just not acceptable. So much so that they have outlawed it and banned it. And the white supremacist groups in Germany, who are no longer legally allowed to wave the swastika, to show their agreement with Hitler's points of view, now in lieu of that fly the rebel battle flag. I don't know how you can make that any more clear. The other issue is that the Confederate flag, everyone keeps referring to it, what we know is the Confederate flag, actually isn't the Confederate flag. It is the battle flag for North Virginia, and it was not called Stars and Bars. Stars and Bars was actually a symbol of the Confederacy, and it looked very much like the American flag, except that it had 3 stripes, red, white, and then red again, and a blue circle with 7 stars. indicating or representative of the states that wanted to secede. So I really don't know. I mean, if you want to take that Southern heritage, why not, swap out that battle flag with the real stars and bars, which was that first Confederate national flag. Not to mention that flag represents the entirety of the South and the Confederacy, whereas the rebel battle flag was representative of Northern Virginia only. So if you want to make that distinction, then fine, make it, and fly the original stars and bars over your house, and not the rebel battle flag of North Virginia. As for personal things going on in my life right now, as you could see at the beginning of the video, I started a blog called Annual Analysis. You can find it at annualanalysis.blogspot.com. It is the goal is that every year, every January, I will try to come up with a new topic, a very general, broad topic, and throughout the year, that's what I'll talk about. Once a week, I'll post something in relation to that topic, and respond to comments and feedback. This year, because I'm starting it kind of in the middle of the year, I'm going to post twice a week. That's going to be on Wednesdays and Saturdays. By 9 o'clock, the post will be up, and it will. This year will be about relationships, all kinds of relationships, romantic relationships, co-workers, families, siblings, parents, friendships, anything I can come up with, really. And I look forward to listening to everyone's feedback and seeing what they think and what they want to say about it, and whether they agree with my advice and opinions, or whether they have a different take. I'm open to whatever. I've also been working on a book, my first book, a fiction book about gender supremacy is really the only way I can put it. I call it fiction. Some people might call it erotica. Some people might call it fantasy. I'm not entirely sure what category I'd put it under. I had the idea for it like a long time ago, and I thought maybe it was a little too racy just for the general public, because I didn't want it to come off like erotica. It's more like it's a story, and there are some scenes in it that may be erotic, but it's not an erotic book, if that makes any sense. Anyways, I shelved the idea because I thought it was, people wouldn't understand, or what have you. And then, of course, 50 Shades of Grey came out, and I went, oh, okay, apparently people can handle this just fine. So I'm working on it now. I'm at the point now where I'm having it proofread, kind of a chapter at a time. I still have a few chapters left to go, but it's a work in progress, and I'll keep you updated on that. My mom was recently diagnosed with bladder cancer. She was in the hospital, so I was really busy this month. She had an operation to remove the bladder, and everything looks good, and her pathology reports are positive, so it looks like she's not going to have to follow up with chemo. It looks like they got the cancer, and so I'm very happy and relieved and grateful about that. And since January, I am a new grandmother. I have a beautiful 7-month-old grandson named Damien, who I adore. And yeah, I guess that's it as far as my personal stuff goes. So that's pretty much the order I'm going to try to keep things in each month. I'll talk about 3 to 5 topics about whatever's going on or that's been on the news that I feel like I have something to say or contribute to the conversation. and then I'll talk a little bit about, you know, my personal stuff and what's going on, if anything, and try to keep you updated. So again, I'm Kim, and this is my video. This is my first one, and hopefully they'll get better. I'm still kind of working things out and learning how to do this, and hopefully, you know, you like it and you'll come back and check me out again. Also, in between when I can, I'm gonna try. There's not gonna be any rhyme or reason to it, but I'm gonna grab people I know, friends, family, and have little conversations. Probably like, you know, 10-minute conversations, maybe 15, over like a cup of coffee or something, maybe even less, and I'll let them choose, you know, whatever topic is that they're passionate about. The first one will probably be my husband, and we'll probably be talking about comic books or superheroes or movies or something crazy like that. But you'll find those sprinkled in amongst these. So until next time, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you soon.